Historical criminological research on prisons in England comes across as genderless, but in fact these histories reflect the experience of male prisoners, not least because there have been many historical records to draw on. The few histories on female prisons have failed to reclaim women's subjectivity because they have used traditional and revisionist prison historiography to contextualize the history of female prisons. The discourse of invisibility of female prisoners has loads to do with the taking at face value the stories told about national penitentiaries. What is missing from such narratives is that the few women sentenced to these penitentiaries were subjected to a specific female version of the regime. For example, primary sources that we can access now in archives tells us that female convicts were transferred towards the end of their sentence to Fulham Refuge. This was aimed at reducing the stigma of being recognised as a female ex-convict. Most women, however, were sent to one of the 63 local prisons around the country, and Westminster Jail was the only female-only prison. Official report tells us that only Lancaster Jail employed women in gun breaking and cotton picking. Otherwise, female prisoners were subject predominantly to employment in housekeeping. Susan Fletcher confirms in her memoir published in 1884 after her release from prison that the hard labour she was sentenced to was rather a myth. As far as she was concerned, she did a little knitting because she liked it, but not an hour hard labour during the 12 months. However, let us not confuse bad with different. Prison regime have left much to be desired for, whether you were a man or a woman. When first arriving to Westminster Jail, Susan Fletcher was faced with the filthy horror of the reception. She described all washed from one tank and wipe on one towel, and the poor women, wild with grief, are screaming in the reception cells. Finally, while waiting to progress to a position of trust, working in the kitchen or the laundry, Susan had to spend 23 hours of the day in her cell. In that regard, she said, "A saint might grow more saintly by such a discipline, perhaps. But even a saint's body could hardly get more healthy. Common men and women, social beings, with all their best instinct unsatisfied and blighted, must be made worse in every way by such unnatural conditions."